start the workshop, I will just introduce myself. My name is Kristóf Gyódi, and I'm a researcher at DELab, Digital Economy Lab at the University of Warsaw. And I'm also a PhD candidate in economics. And my research area relates to digital economy, empirical research, mostly on Airbnb. So these peer-to-peer services. And I am also involved in research related to the next generation internet, together with Michał.
Yes, hi, my name is Michał Paliński, and I'm Kristóf's colleague from both DELab and Faculty of Economic Sciences at the University of Warsaw. And my research mainly is focused on privacy economics, personal data, evaluation of privacy online.
Yes, and we are forming part of the NGI Forward project, which you all have seen during the conference. So the main name of the project is about creating a vision for the future internet that is focusing on citizens, that is based on core European values. And our role in the project is about providing different data science tools and methods to map and identify emerging technologies and social issues. So our aim is to be a sort of intelligence unit, which is using different data and different text mining tools in order to support policy with the identification of regulatory areas, to help them identify emerging problems, so to shorten the policy lag, great challenges ahead of us, emerging technologies and various regulatory issues that are pressing the society in its current moments.
I have started sharing my screen, so hopefully you can maximize it to see our presentation. Today we'll show you two of our recent works. First, we'll start with NGI Forward project, and here we'll present you our results from this ongoing work. And secondly, we'll move on to the COVID-19 pandemic analysis. This is another set of analysis we have carried out in recent months. But let's start with NGI Forward that Kristóf described a second ago. And we'll show you in the beginning our data sources. In all of our projects, we rely heavily on web scraping tools, and we retrieve different kind of articles, working papers from various online sources. In the case of NGI Forward, we have retrieved almost 250,000 of media articles from different media outlets, both focused solely on tech. Probably most of you read this papers like from TechCrunch or Register, Diverge, and so on. But also we have scraped articles from technological section of outlets focused on policy issues, such leading outlets as Politico or Reuters, Euroactive, to name a few. And today we will focus on this media analysis, but we have also carried out some analysis on working papers from SSRN or archive. If you are interested, then we can show you some results from this angle. Back to you, Kristóf.
It's also important to note that this workshop will be much based around discussions. So, dear participants, in case you have any questions, please put them into the comment section. But we will also make regularly breaks during the presentation where we will have a recap of the questions. You will also have the opportunity to ask your question live and using your mic and video. So the idea here is that we show you the main idea, the main results, but we are very much interested in your feedback, into any insights that we might have missed or any ideas where we can put this research in the future. So after this little information, we will begin describing the analysis of news that we have finished lately. This is an example of our data-driven approach, and also the approach that is based around interactive visualizations that are regularly maintained in order to stay ahead with the news cycles and to have a more rapid dissemination of results than the usual academic cycle, which is usually 2 years at least to publish something. And this presentation is collecting data since 2016 until 2019. We have a separate presentation for the COVID-19 analysis. And the first thing that we are doing in our analysis is to find which are the trending terms in news articles. So we are observing changes in term frequencies over time, and with the analysis of these term frequencies, we are able to highlight which are the terms that which importance has been growing the most. And with a bit of expert analysis, we are grouping these terms into 2 main categories at the beginning, into social issues and technologies. And within these very wide areas, we group them into further smaller topics, such as the issues related to the content crisis, to climate, market competition. And if, Michał, you go into one of the bubbles, then you can see that each topic consists of these different trending terms. The greater the bubble, the more robust the growth over time is. Therefore, this provides a very quick map of all the different trending issues that we observed. And this provides the first step into this topic identification analysis, which consists of different steps that we will describe in the next phase. But the idea is that first we map the trending terms, and then we are analyzing the relationship between these terms, and also trying to analyze different issues in a deeper, more focused way.
Yes, as Kristóf mentioned, our work is always a mixture of quantitative text mining job and qualitative studies and workshops and so on, even some ethnographic job with our partners. So the funnel is such that we begin with these quantitative studies, and then we sit with our partners from Nesta or with other partners from Aarhus University, and we start to think about streamlining these clusters, these identified clusters, into more, let's say, umbrella topics. Here we present you the 8 umbrella topics we have identified during NGI Forward project. To name a few, we have focused on such issues as trustworthy information, where we have focused on such issues as spread of fake news, misinformation, decline of trust in traditional news sources. Another issue was online privacy, where we have tracked discussions related to both regulatory level of online privacy issues. So we have tracked, for example, the public opinion behind GDPR regulation, but also we have tracked concrete protocols, privacy scandals, or notorious apps like FaceApp, for example. Another major umbrella topic that we identified and monitor was ethical AI and ethical algorithms in general, where we have focused on such issues as algorithmic biases, We have highlighted trending stories related to vote manipulation, censorship, and others. All these umbrella topics we present in this table. So if you've got any questions, I guess this is a good time to slow down a bit, and maybe we are open for a couple of questions. If anything is unclear regarding our main goals and methodology.
Or maybe we have missed a major area that we should be focusing on.
Mm-hmm.
So just please use the comment section during the presentation, and then once we make the next stop, we will be happy to answer your questions.
Mm-hmm. And if you want to go through this website on your own, using your own pace, this is the address. So this is fwd.delabapps.eu. Okay, so on this website, we have provided users with separate paths. Each path leads to another deep dive, another umbrella topic, and we'll go through one of them. I will just mark market competition, so we can present you the results of this umbrella topic.
Yeah, so the next step is to examine within this topic of market competition, which is an example, to what is the relationship between the different terms. And here we use co-occurrence analysis, which shows which are the terms that are frequently mentioned together in the same article. So this way we can see these different connections between different terms. So as an example, we have examined which are the co-occurrences for tech giants, which is frequently mentioned in news articles. And this analysis is showing us basically two things. So on the one hand, tech giants are mentioned in the context of emerging tech, such as 5G, AI, quantum computing. But on the other hand, it's also related to a bunch of regulatory issues, such as GDPR, protests, and so on. So and also China. So you have these two dimensions, which is very much characteristics for the current debate about technologies. The second thing that is interesting is that we also analyzed co-occurrences for anti-competitive, and this is a good example because it also shows us the different insights that we can pull out from such analysis. So, for example, for anti-competitive behavior or company, you can find such examples as Libra, so the cryptocurrency of Facebook, or the debate around DNS over HTTPS protocol, which is related to domain name systems, and there was an ongoing discussion whether this kind of protocol will not lead to further power on the behalf of Google by its Google Chrome browser. So this kind of methodology is highlighting some of the recent news articles that were polarizing the discussion. And you can find many more examples for the other terms as well. And the third step in the analysis is the analysis of sentiments, which is the third dimension in our set of tools. And sentiment is showing us whether a given text is rather positive or negative. So this is a relatively simple tool which scores texts between +1 as very positive and -1 as extremely negative. So therefore, if something is around 0, then the sentiment is neutral. If closer to 1, it is more positive. And with this kind of analysis, we can, first of all, track the perception of different topics over time. So on this figure, you can see how the sentiment of paragraphs that contain tech giants evolved over time. So the bigger the bubble, the more paragraphs there were in our data sets. And on the other hand, the y-axis is the sentiment score. So you can see that there was this downward trend, which reached its minimum in January 2019. Most probably due to the fact that in the beginning of last year, there was a great discussion about digital tax, especially in Europe. So probably this has been also driving the score downwards. And we find this method to be useful to track how the articles changed also their tone, but also how the perception of different areas evolved. And the second method here is a combination of co-occurrences with sentiments. So in the table below, you can see which are the most positive and the most negative relationships. So which words are frequently mentioned together with tech giants in a positive context or in a negative context. And this way we can identify some bad actors, some controversial institutions and events. So in this case, for example, tech giants is positively mentioned in the context of, for example, IKEA. This is interesting how the company has this positive flow in news cycles to smart speakers, decentralized technologies. So these are the stuff that is rather positive. And you have the controversial relationships, and this leads us to InfoWars, so to the issue of fake news, conspiracy theories, content moderation, to politics. So what is the role of tech giants in the case of political ads? What's the influence on the democratic process? And also an interesting word appeared, TVCs. So these are the subcontractors of Google, and so there were some news reports about this different abuse at Google campus and problems with employees. So which leads us again to a different regulatory or political issue.
Mm-hmm. And as you can already see, we use rather simple algorithms or simple methods in our identification exercises. But this is on purpose, let's say on design, because we want our methodology to be as straightforward as possible, because our main goal is to, again, inform policymakers. So we try to refrain ourselves from using any black box algorithms. With one exception. This exception is topic modeling. We couldn't restrict ourselves from using this popular method. And we have employed LDA. This is a very common data science method for topic modeling to create this neat interactive maps as a robustness check for our previous exercises, especially co-occurrence analysis. And here we wanted to see whether this LDA method reinforces our result. And indeed, to a major extent, it does. These results are a bit more messy than our curated analysis. But as you can see in this map, which presents identified topics, we've got similar results, for example, in this first topic that is described by this characteristic keywords on the right. You can see here topic related to such regulatory issues as digital tax, Huawei ban, FTC investigation, this is mainly this topic. What is nice about this method is that you can visualize topics in 2 dimensions, so that you can see how they are located to each other, how similar they are. So, for example, this regulatory issues related to Huawei is also close to online platforms in general, and regulatory efforts to put some regulation on tech giants like Facebook or Google. The final step we want to show you is this small application that allows users to monitor the trends of certain keywords. This is done for all umbrella topics. In the case of market competition, you can, for example, track how popular were these keywords in the media. So, for example, you can see how tech giants searched in tech media over last months, how supply chain issue was getting popularity in the media. Or you can also see, for example, how some topics were steady in popularity, like self-regulation over last months. We've got plenty of other analyses on this website, so again, we encourage you to explore it by yourself. But if you've got any questions right now, then this is your second chance to ask them, because later on we'll move on to our second part of this presentation, namely related to COVID-19. So please go on with any questions you've got.
Yeah, so we showed you this deep dive related to market competition, but as Michał has said, we prepared an identical analysis for ethical AI, for climate issues, democracy. So in a way, our aim was to map these kind of areas and to make a case study how policymakers can also use such tools for their inquiries, for more focused regulatory areas. And at this moment, maybe it's also worth noting that our tools are open source and they are available on GitLab, and the link is on our website. And we have some documented tutorials, so anyone with basic programming skills can start to experiment with the codes and maybe collect or prepare analysis on own data source. So our tutorials are related to news articles, but it is also possible to run other kind of data.
Yes, I just wanted to show you the GitLab address of our repositories. So at GitLab/EngineHouse, you've got our main repositories, and here our main tutorials that are documented, and you can reproduce our analysis on both our data sets. If you collect them, we show you how to scrape data from some of our sources, or even we show you how to use a simple API in case of Guardian to collect some articles and to do this analysis on your own. Okay, so I guess it is a good time to move on to our second part. Don't you think, Kristóf?
Yeah, so in the meantime, if anyone has any suggestions or or questions, just put in the comment section, and in a few minutes we will answer them.
Mm-hmm.
And so the second presentation is focusing on this news maze, information maze that was surrounding us in 2020. So this has not been a particularly nice year so far, unfortunately, and there were so many issues going on, also related to technology, that we thought it has some value added if we make a separate presentation about all the events that happened since January. So this presentation is focusing on news from 2020, and we have different aims here. So the first is to again map what are the trends in technology news. And what kind of technologies are related to COVID-19, and where is some technology area where this kind of analysis can be useful for policy makers. And the second thing that we thought would be interesting to experiment with new kinds of data sources that we didn't use in the previous presentation, such as social media data from Reddit. So Reddit is an interesting platform because of the moderation policy, because the audience is technology enthusiasts most of the time, and they organize their discussions into subreddits. There's thousands of different subreddits that are usually very specialized with own moderation policy, own culture, and so on. And there's a huge focus on technology. Therefore, we thought it will be an interesting area to analyze discussions. And the third data source that is new are open source projects, and we analyze data from GitHub, the most popular platform to share the code and collaborate with others. And so these are the new sources. We have also scientific papers, just as before, but we will focus on the news, Reddit, and open source in this workshop. And the workshop or the presentation is starting very similarly as the previous one. So first we are interested in to again find out which are the trending terms in news articles, and we grouped them into different large thematic areas. So we have the social challenges, for example, and here you can see again which are the trending terms. And if you take a look, you can see that there are different things going on. So on the one hand, all the previous problems that were with us related to the state of social media, conspiracy theories, and so on, it's naturally still there. We have just an additional layer of COVID-19 and COVID-19 conspiracy theories and these kind of issues. But on the other hand, with COVID-19, we have a bunch of new problems like lockdowns and health issues. Here we have also technology areas that are important, such as contact tracing, online meeting apps, and also changes in transportation, in daily consumption, and this whole culture that is around us. And finally, we have also the problems that have been with us, but maybe below the surface. And this is mostly related to the situation in US, such as the protest movement that has been going on in the summer. And in the case of Europe, as the rest of the world, we have new dynamics in economy, and in much of the countries growing unemployment. So this kind of these bubbles collect these issues on one map. Mm-hmm. And we again continue the analysis with analysis of co-occurrences. So here, COVID-19 has been related to such issues as the things that I have mentioned before. So very similar connections, just as in the case of the bubbles. And I think what is more interesting is the sentiment analysis that we have prepared for the different technology areas. So again, to find out which are the positive and negative sides of news stories. And we were very much interested in to see how discussions about contact tracing evolved. There was a lot of dynamics in this topic and interesting projects. So we were analyzing during the pandemic what kind of institutions appeared, what kind of actors, projects, examples, technologies, and so on. And here we monitored more closely the PEP PT project, PT, yes, and this is a European initiative to come up with a standard for contact tracing. And here you can see that news articles about this project reveal much of the issues that were happening. So the different researchers themselves, institutions that are involved, MEPs who were active in this field, some of the privacy issues that were happening, also the worldwide examples for privacy apps, such as the one in India or in Singapore, and so on. So we found that the methodology here is working rather well to map all the things. The second issue was that once Apple and Google announced their protocol, somehow the area became different. So after that, much of the attention went into scrutiny towards what kind of protocol the companies will be offering, what kind of apps are built based on them, and if you follow the news right now, the issue of contact tracing became somehow less of a hot topic, even though much of the countries have their own contact tracing apps. At this point of the pandemic, we should have really 60-70% of people with such apps, and we don't really see these numbers. So now it's this interest seems to be a bit lesser, a bit less intensive. We will see how this area will continue. And besides contact tracing, we have also analyzed such issues as Zoom, which is a bit more maybe relaxed topic with some interesting news around the cybersecurity issues, around Zoom bombing, and this new kind of phenomena that appeared with remote work, and so on. So if so here the idea was again to come up with all these different narratives and situations around these technologies.
Yes, and this words changed during the pandemic because we have carried out all this analysis a few times since the wake of COVID-19, so that it were up to date and regularly updated. Once again, we wanted to see whether LDA reinforce our results, and actually it does. So we have identified topics related to what Kristóf just said. So, for example, this fourth topic is regards contact tracing in different parts of Europe and other regions, as China, for example, and covers also privacy angle of this area. So how privacy preserving are this contact tracing protocols, for example, and so on and so on. But this time, we wanted to go a step deeper, and it might be interesting for any data scientists that are today with us, because we wanted to see the time dimension of topic modeling, so that we reached for this method called dynamic topic modeling to see the evolution of topics that we identified. So, for example, in the case of online meetings topic, we can trace how popular Zoom app was according to the media by tracing how often it was mentioned, how it was plausible that this topic will appear in the media. So, for example, in the case of Zoom, you can see that after the initial surge in popularity, it experienced a downward trend during the pandemic, and there were such apps as, for example, competitor from Google that was initially on the lower level, but it didn't experience a lot of changes in popularity. You can see this exercise done for another topics as well. What we wanted to do also was to map articles. So not only to focus on general topics, as in case of LDA and this broad topic, but to see the articles on an individual level. So we have provided users with this nice interactive app that you can click and explore by yourself. And in this map, we try to cluster articles reflecting on similar issues. And we find that that it could be useful for policymakers for some recommended reading recommendations, because we try to cluster these articles on a very fine level. So, for example, you can see articles that pertain to certain aspects of the pandemic and technologies related with these issues. Here we try to name a few of these clusters, but we find it cool to explore these maps and see what were the smaller clusters of articles during the pandemic. Do we have any questions? Just let me see, because I don't see the screen while I'm sharing. I don't see any, so I guess we can move on to our another major data set that Kristóf introduced already, that is Reddit. And in the case of Reddit, we have examined a bunch of issues. To name a few, we have checked, for example, popularity of face masks comments on Reddit, on different subreddits. And maybe what I will mention in the beginning, that in the case of many of these issues that we have examined, you can see that they can be characterized with this exponential growth. So that we see, of course, in the case of number of cases of COVID-19 patients, recoveries, and unfortunately deaths. But you can also see this in the case of Reddit comments popularity. So this initial fast growth and then the stability over time. What we examined, let me just mention a few issues that we have checked on Reddit. So, for example, we have analyzed subreddits related to mental health, as we wanted to provide policymakers with indicator how public this segment of public is feeling during the pandemic, and how they experience lockdown, whether they feel any lockdown fatigue and to what extent. So here we examine, for example, subreddits related to anxiety, and you can see this this surge in the wake of pandemic. We have analyzed how this is related to job markets and fear of automation, mentions and comments in the subreddits related to unemployment. So here you see how unemployment became a major topic on subreddit since the March of 2020. We have examined some specific subreddits that were related to unemployment, so you can see how it is related to mental issues also. So depression, for example, as a result of being unemployed. We have tracked such issues as apps related to remote work. So you can see how popular they were during the pandemic. What were the alternatives to Zoom or Skype, for example? We have performed some sentiment analysis. So it is interesting, for example, in the case of the lockdown, lockdown fatigue. So here we wanted to track whether or not people are perceiving lockdown measures as to some extent tiring or problematic. And as you can see in the beginning, this public perception, at least on Reddit, was quite positive, and people were pretty understanding in this case. But then there was this lockdown fatigue in the June, July. We have carried out a series, as I said, of this analysis, so that we could inform policymakers how tech enthusiasts perceive different aspects of COVID-19, different technologies, what are the main social challenges, and so on. And now Kristóf will tell you a bit more about our last data set, that is GitHub. That is also quite exciting, at least from my perspective.
Yes, and in the meantime, if you have any idea into which subreddits we should analyze, or any experience with Reddit, then we are very happy to hear about your suggestions and which kind of social challenges maybe we could use Reddit to monitor outside the ones that Michał has just showed. We are in this brainstorming phase currently into which direction to go with the research, and so we would be very happy to hear your opinions. So in the case of open source, we found it very interesting to monitor how the number of new projects changed over time. If you remember the time of March and April, there was a very huge interest around finding different solutions, keeping track of the number of COVID-19 cases and so on. And also there was a huge interest from the side of programmers, data scientists, so all of these guys who are doing open source projects. And this interactive map is showing you how the number of projects evolved over time in different countries. So if Michał will run the visualization again, then you can see how first China was, as the first hotspot of the virus, has been also the main area with the projects. But then as the pandemic spread, very quickly such countries as the US, India, or European countries overtook China with these open source collaboration projects. If we see just without the geographical differentiation, just the overall number of projects, then you can also maybe recognize this exponential growth that was happening in the first wave of the pandemic. So first there was a lot of new projects, a lot of interest, and then as the pandemic, as the intensity of the pandemic decreased in the second half of spring and summer, also here the dynamics of open source works decreased. And the second thing that we were interested in was to see, well, what kind of technologies these projects were focusing on, what was their aim. Maybe we will find some inspiration, and here we also found some exciting areas. So the first thing that we found, and this is very intuitive, is that most of the projects focused on summarizing the data, making data visualizations, keeping tracks of COVID-19 cases. So these are stuff that we have all seen in different media outlets, on social media, and so on. So maybe they are not that interesting at this point in time. On the other hand, we have also found very exciting and novel projects. So for example, projects that were focusing on image recognition, analysis of X-ray images, for example, to find the most vulnerable COVID-19 patients, to find patterns in data that can be interesting in identification of COVID-19. And also some projects that focused on the forecasting of new cases. And here there were also some rather state-of-the-art approaches related to forecasting. So Michał is showing you again the topic modeling analysis on the project descriptions, and based on this analysis, we found some interesting keywords, interesting technologies that gives an overall idea what was the open source world focusing on. But we also found it interesting and also necessary to keep a list of the most influential projects, so that to see, well, which are the projects that are collecting the most contributions, the greatest number of observations, and this is summarized in this interactive table with the metadata of the project. So you can go through the projects and see well, what was the aim, and how does the tool work. So maybe you will be also inspired to join a project or just simply check them out. And so this is the section related to GitHub.
Okay, so I believe we reached the end of this presentation, at least from the end of the analysis we wanted to share with you. But again, there are more. So this time visit website COVID-19 DELab.eu. Maybe I will paste it in the chat. First one and the second address if you want to see more. There is also contact to us on this website, so please reach us if you've got any ideas, comments, or you see any bugs or errors, anything you want to share with us. We are open for contact.
Exactly. So again, much of the things that we are doing are based on these observations of news and technologies. But here we are also interested in to see where we could take this case study approach that we presented for example, this market competition. So again, if you have any ideas for some topics or data sources, just drop us a line or contact us, and we will be very happy for some feedback. Otherwise, if there's no immediate comments, then we would like to thank you very much for your attention. It was a big pleasure for us to be with you, and hopefully we will be in touch soon again.
Thank you very much, guys, and have a nice rest of today's summit. See you on other.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Bye-bye.
Have a nice day. Bye-bye.